listening to The Gender Rebels.
I'm Kathleen, a cis woman and ally.
And I'm Faith, a trans woman.
Gender Rebels is a question and answer podcast that explores life outside the gender binary.
A big thanks to our Patreon supporters.
If you'd like to support the show, go to patreon.com/genderrebels. Hey everyone, I'm Kat.
And I'm Faith.
Faith, welcome to the Gender Rebels.
Why are you welcoming me?
It's a podcast we do roughly every week.
Wait, have we been doing it every week? Nearly?
Nearly.
Oh, thank you for welcoming me to this podcast we've been doing.
Do we have patrons to thank? Is that why you have
do.
your email up? Who are our patrons?
We have Sammy.
Sammy!
Thank you, Sammy.
You're the best.
And we also have Christopher.
Christopher, thank you so much.
Christopher McG. Thank you, Christopher McG. And we also have Jeffrey S. Jeffrey, you're awesome. Thank you.
Rock. Oh my gosh. Well, awesome. I have more than just patrons to thank.
Who do you have to thank?
I have a patron question to ask.
Oh.
It's not even a thank
Exciting.
thing.
By the way, if you want to be our patron, go to patreon.com/genderrebels and get some cool stuff, including access to our other podcast.
What's our other podcast?
Faith and Kath.
Vampire Slayers.
Yep, it's a Buffy the Vampire Slayer podcast. So it's very fun. And if you want access to that, you get that and other cool stuff like stickers. We have new stickers.
Postcards, flags.
Every patron, we're going to be reaching out to you over the next week. We're going to be saying, give us your address if we don't already have it. Verify your address, and we will send you some cool stickers, and we're going to have some other goodies coming up soon.
And we're going to double check what name you want things that are mailed to, because we know some of you have your real name, and some of you have the name you still have to pretend with for now.
Yeah.
We're going to make real sure that you get what you want.
But we're going to have some extra goodie packages coming y'all's way for patrons.
We love you guys.
Yeah.
But we love all of our listeners, and here's a question from one of our listeners, and his name is D, and he is asking me, what have you seen trans people do to support and enrich the lives of their cis partners? How can I be more than a burden? And here's the thing. It's really important for you to know.
Yeah.
Because I talked about this with D, is when I initially read this question, I read it very quickly. I thought D had asked, how can I be more of a burden?
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about both of those things.
Okay, both those things. Both how a trans partner can be less of a burden and more of a burden.
Or, more confusingly, more of a burden and more than a burden.
Okay.
For all of you ESL people, English is a second language, sorry. This will be tricky that way.
And how can someone be just equally a burden?
Yeah, how can you maintain your baseline burdensomeness?
Yeah, that's another important part of this.
All right, so I put a lot of thought in how you can be more of a burden, and I would like to discuss that now. And then we'll get to D's actual question, where you're being more than a burden. And honestly, D and listeners, the reason that read so funny to me is because I don't get that my trans partner is a burden in any way.
I hope I'm not.
You're not even a little. At worst, you're an interesting project.
Let's talk about first, how could I be a burden? Let's think of some fun ways I could be a burden.
I like how you assume you're not at all.
I'm a trans girl. Okay, I'm a trans girl. You're a cis girl.
Correct.
We're in a partnership.
Correct.
Am I a burden to you?
No.
Okay, there we go. Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.
Okay, well, actually, let me back that up.
Okay.
So...
Oh, dear.
So my first thought was, you don't try on my clothes and stretch them out. Thank you for not doing that.
Okay.
That is a way that a trans partner could be more of a burden, is trying on their cis partner's clothes and stretching them out.
Okay.
Or breaking them or whatever.
Shrinking them.
Shrinking them.
Spilling kumquat juice on them.
Yeah, if you could not, that'd be swell, because kumquat is like...
It never comes out.
It never comes out. You just have to dye your entire outfit with kumquat and hope it's just sort of consistent. The real stuff, the hardcore stuff, the ways that trans partners can be a burden, that is not the case with us, but in general, is when it's to the cis partner, you're going to stay married to that freak. You're either with them or you're with us. make a decision. So
where
that's
where your family and friends kind of reject them. Or I could see it being like maybe the people, your coworkers. If you have a lot of conservative coworkers, or you work for a company that's conservative.
Yes.
You might, maybe everyone brings their spouse to the Christmas party, and you're like, oh, I don't know if I should bring my spouse. Am I going to end up jeopardizing something at my job?
Or you're in a small town and everyone knows everyone.
Yeah.
I mean, there's ways that this can negatively affect a cis partner's life.
They might worry about their kids.
Yeah. The kids might get teased. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, of course, that's even assuming the cis person is 100% on board. Yay, let's go. We're a couple then and we're a couple now. And as we know, a lot of these relationships don't survive. So that's a burden on the relationship to such an extent that it kills the relationship.
Yeah.
Again, we don't know those numbers. I recently asked on Reddit, anyone have any estimate of what these numbers are?
It sounds like it's something you would get seriously downvoted for on Reddit.
I mean, I got some not great responses, but in general, people were very helpful and responded with those national surveys of trans people.
Yeah.
All along, I had been telling our listeners it's 50-50. Because I had read that somewhere. And based on this survey, the National Trans Survey, it looks more like 25% to 50% survive. It looks so the odds are a little bit worse than I'd been saying.
Anytime for our listeners, anytime you hear a single statistic about transgender people, especially transgender people in America, understand that we don't even have a good number for how many trans people there are. So to say X number of trans people do X, Y, or this number of relationships don't work, etc., we don't even have a good estimate.
Because there's so many trans people who are closeted or still figuring it out or have completely figured it out and not willing to.
Also, there's never been a real, study of the actual numbers. So
I feel like there have, but I don't know.
I don't know. No one ever reached out to me.
No, you did find that one survey, but they were done taking survey responses.
Maybe, but it's still they could do sample studies, but they couldn't really. I'm just saying, go on Wikipedia, try to find the number of trans people, look up the various studies, look up the various estimates. No one even knows how many trans people there are.
And that's because of this enduring stigma.
Yeah.
Because so many people have their lives that
it's really,
you've all been there. Every single person listening who is trans or partner or friend or anything of any relation to anything of the trans concept are aware that even if a national survey went out that had just one question on it, are you trans, yes or no? Even that.
Well, it's also, because our non-binary people trans, our cross-dressers trans. I mean, there's arguments for both.
Sure, but even the people who should say yes
might want to say no because they don't want that reported.
For literally every single reason you can possibly think of.
So that's my whole point, is that there's just not numbers. There's just not really good numbers for
I'm just saying, it's hard now to count things.
So burdens, let's get back. We got really
grain of salt is the short version of what we were just saying.
So anyway,
in the future it'll get better. Blah blah blah. Burden. Okay, so we're going to talk about how faith can be less of a burden on me. But before we do that, we're going to talk about ways that faith can be more of a burden on me.
I love this
because that's funnier. How can I be more?
Okay, one way I can think of to be more of a burden is I'm MTF. I'm male to female. I can insist that you be just as feminine as me in your presentation all the time.
Why would you insist on that? Why
because
would that
I want to be
you?
A burden.
Oh, you want to be a burden. Okay. Should I be more feminine in my presentation? Or would that make you sad?
No, you need to be super femme.
Exactly.
We need to both go out looking like super glam all the time.
What? So I need to be exactly as femme as you?
Exactly as femme as me.
But not a bit more.
Not a bit more.
Okay, that's
not
interesting.
A bit less.
Because we could start to quantify what it is to look femme.
On the Herkimer Joe's knee scale of feminine behavior and presentation.
We both have to be precisely 13.7.
13.7 or more.
if I'm more than that, you'll be like, oh, you
you're
think
right.
I'm more masculine.
Precisely 13.7.
Precisely
So,
13. Okay. So, how to be more of a burden? Insist that they present as feminine as
how
you.
to be more
or
of a burden?
as masculine as you.
Insist that you buy an electrologist machine and get certified in electrolysis.
And develop the skill for that. Guys, I did look into this.
Electrolysis-ness.
It's at least a 2-year training program. Electrolysists do know their shit. Like, they know baseline cosmetology, and then they branch off after that. You don't just go to a class for 4 weeks and know how to do electrolysis. If that were the case, I'd be taking care of Faith. I don't. I haven't. I can't, and I won't.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's a great burden for me to be.
You could also get a laser.
Another
machine.
way I could be.
So I don't know how much an electrology machine costs, but a laser machine is just going to be on top of that.
I feel like it's not called electrology. I think it's called electrolysis.
Electrolysis.
Okay. I feel like electrology is already out there and it's something else. And it's probably more painful than what we're...
That's you don't want electrology.
Yeah, let's not
electrolysis machines.
All right, there'll be a link to what electrology really is, but it's a little frightening, and I'd advise you to not click on that link.
Oh my god.
Leave
you don't want to
that link blue.
Yeah.
Another way to be more of a burden, you could require me to become a phlebotomist.
Oh, so you could check my phlegm, my blood.
So I can draw your blood and do your liver panel.
Check to make sure that I'm not fucking up my liver.
Exactly.
You could get an entire medical degree. In fact, you could get certified in transgender surgery. So I could save a shit ton of money.
I thought you were going to say I could be an endocrinologist. You're making me be a general surgeon and then specifying in junk surgery on top of that?
And FFS. If you could do both at the same time.
You fucking burden!
That would be great.
Go to hell! You're such a burden sometimes. Thanks for the question.
I'm just saying you could just do that.
Oh my god.
Just do that. Is that hard? Oh my god.
No, the only way it could be harder is if you also told me to take classes in photography.
Oh, so that
so I could take professional level
photos.
photos.
Makeup really good too. So then we could do like pinup photos.
So you want me
to do hair.
I'm your cis partner. You want me to do cosmetology for electrolysis and hair.
Yes.
Photography for great photos.
And makeup and makeup.
Makeup.
Yeah.
Back in the
cosmetology.
Photography.
Yep.
Electrolysis.
Mm-hmm.
Phlebotomy.
Yes.
Liver panels.
I feel like if you get to the point where you're a doctor and can do like SRS, then you can take blood. That should be nothing.
I mean, I think that's one of those things that they've decided is just not the doctor's job anymore.
Oh, it's not. But
like,
I feel like a doctor could do it.
Oh, they can.
I'd
just
probably
not as
take
good
blood.
as it,
I mean, you just stab a thing in someone's vein.
So I need to go to cosmetology school, medical school, and photography school.
I feel like cosmetology school is going to be one of the easier of those. I feel like photography is going to be the easiest to learn. And then cosmetology is going to be a little more complicated.
Sure.
Because you have to get so many hours.
Sure.
Doing cosmetology.
Right. And there's hardware and certifications and licenses and state exams.
Exactly.
And stuff,
And then I feel like the medical school is going to be probably becoming like a literal MD is going to be the hardest thing.
Especially if there's surgery involved. That's at least 20 years schooling and training.
Yeah, that's tricky.
No, but I feel like we have found maximum burden.
Okay, good.
Congratulations.
Yay. So now let's go back to the actual question.
Yes. How can I be more than a burden? Or conversely,
and this is something where I would
a burden.
I would say in any partnership, neither partner should endeavor to be a burden.
Thank you, Dr. Obvious. Well, that's relationship advice from the Gender Rebels. Take that particular gem to heart. Thanks for listening.
Also, don't eat nails. Strychnine, bad. Alright, so I'm the trans partner. You're the cis partner. Tell me, am I a burden on you?
How are you a burden?
Am I a burden on you?
For reals, the only burden on me is me wanting to be sure that you are safe and happy.
Okay.
So that manifests in a couple ways. You get anxious about coming out to some people, or anxious to hanging out with some people, or like family stuff or work stuff. And I help you through that because I want to minimize your anxiety and unhappiness, and it's a rough process. All of our listeners know this is a bumpy, at best, process. There's going to be assholes and jerks along the way. And the only burden is that my partner, who didn't, to me, have that kind of psychological stress, now has a whole new kind of psychological stress. But the fact of the matter is, in reality, before you transition, you had a whole different kind of psychological stress that I didn't know about.
So one thing I think that maybe would be get a therapist so that you are not asking your partner to be your therapist.
That's actually really good. That should be number one.
Okay.
That's the short version of this episode, by the way. How can I be less of a burden? Get a therapist.
Yeah.
I'm not saying, well, you're so fucking crazy, you better be talking to a pro. And I'm not saying you can't talk to your partner about this. But I am saying, we're saying, that what you're going through is heavy duty.
Yeah.
It's big. It's awesome. Overall, this is great. This is fantastic. But it does introduce a whole bunch of new stressors into your life. Same with your partner. Not as many, but some.
Yeah, a therapist is a professional. Your partner cares about you, but has their own stuff they're dealing with.
And they're not a professional.
Yeah, they're not a professional, and they may not, in every instance of every day, be able to sit there and go like, okay, let me
I hear what
suborn
you're
my own
saying.
stuff
Right.
to take care of yours.
No.
They've got their own thing they're dealing with.
Sure. And you've got a very big thing you're dealing with. And it's just healthy. It's just good. It gives you a framework. It gives you some tools. A therapist can help you figure out whether this is within normal range of reaction to this particular situation. Like, it's good. That being said, 16:38 on the recording, in case I need to delete this part.
Okay.
My dear partner, I love you so much. Faith, you have not been seeing a therapist.
I have not.
Why not?
I tend to be kind of introverted, and talk therapy has not worked for me in the past. I've tried it a few times, and I've never met with a therapist twice.
Sure. And therapists are tricky.
I just don't think it works for me because I just don't find that situation comfortable. Talking to a stranger about my stuff. I'm one of those people who's like, I'll just bottle it up forever because that's how I deal with things. And
so my question for you then is, you've got your stuff. I've got my stuff. Everyone's got our stuff. Are you bottling it up or are you using me as your therapist? No judgment. I'm fine, whatever. But
I think I tend to probably keep most stuff to myself.
Okay.
For the most part.
Okay.
That's just who I am, kind of. I've tried talk therapy, and I don't feel comfortable opening up to a person.
There was that one guy that you kind of clicked with.
I did, but he wasn't
covered, and you had to pay out of pocket.
He was covered, and I had to pay out of pocket, and he wanted to meet at like 7 a.m. every week, and I'm like, I can't fucking do that, dude.
But my point is,
that would actually be less.
That would be
fun.
a disincentive.
That would be less fun than just dealing with my own neuroses.
It'd be worse for my mental health.
Thank you. Yeah,
frankly, leaving my house at 5:30 a.m.
Yeah.
But my point is, that kind of relationship, that kind of click, that kind of this person gets it, that's the therapeutic relationship you want to have. And that might be possible with another person.
For some people. I think therapy absolutely works. I think it can be absolutely useful for some people, and I think it doesn't work for other people. And I think I'm one of those people it doesn't work for. And
with respect,
people are different. Yeah.
You haven't really given it a go.
I have not given it a long go, but I feel like I've tried.
You've tried like one session with 4 different people.
Yeah.
Okay, so the whole reason I brought this up,
and
again, I can cut this out if you want,
okay,
is just so our listeners know exactly how much experience we literally have with talk therapy.
Okay.
I have quite a bit more than Faith, but that's not the point.
But you've
We're talking
done a
about
lot
you
more
and
talk
blah.
therapy. But even talk therapy didn't work for you.
What do you mean by work?
You wanted the drugs. You didn't go to talk therapy. You stopped. You don't do talk therapy these days.
All right. So here's how it is with
Yeah.
psychiatric treatment of MDD, major depressive disorder, to mood disorder. It's very common, and I'm managing mine very well. But in general, studies have found that the greatest efficacy is drugs and talk therapy together.
Okay.
They've evaluated people who just take meds. They've evaluated people who just do therapy. They've evaluated people who do both. And of course, control group, people who do neither. On average, the people who do both get better fastest. Now, I have tried both.
Okay.
And I have had therapeutic relationships with talk therapists. I'm thinking about 3 different ones.
Okay.
4 different ones in my life since grad school, which is almost 20 years ago. So within the last 20 years, my diagnosis and my treatment,
Okay.
blah, blah, blah. 4 therapists. And with them, I talked about some stuff. I cleared out some stuff. I verified there's this stressor and this stressor and this is my history and this is my history. And okay. And took the meds the whole time. In general, I have found that meds are all that I need.
Okay.
So either the therapist I worked with took care of it, or it was more of a chemical imbalance than any kind of past trauma or bad habits or negative programming that I kind of needed to get over with.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff that people can bring into their adulthood that they need to work on,
Yeah.
There's a lot of habits, or there's a lot of assumptions, or there's a lot of, oh, this is how grown-ups act, or things like that. Whether talk therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, psychotherapy, there's a bunch of ways to approach it, and they're all variously helpful. Super helpful for some, minimally helpful for others. So I've tried it. I've tried both.
Okay.
I've tried neither, and I've tried one, and I've tried the other. And after years of testing it, I did find that a steady dose of antidepressants is what keeps me good.
Okay.
So, fuck off.
Okay. I'm just saying.
I got a grip on my mental health.
No,
I know
you
what you're
do.
saying.
And after years of being adult me, I think I realized that I need my mental unhealthiness because I kind of, I'm always in my head. I've been diagnosed with generalized anxiety
You're
disorder.
a GAD girl.
And
GAD.
GAD. Emma Stone has it too.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, she does.
Some of the brightest and best have GAD.
And
Justin McElroy has
I think I also have, I prefer Emma Stone to Justin McElroy. I'm not a big fan of the McElroys, but I am a big fan of Emma Stone.
I would say I like them equally. And a lot of our listeners like McElroy, so careful.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, they're with me on this.
Everyone loves Emma Stone because she's Emma Stone.
What's up, you cool babies?
And Emma Stone, if you're listening, we're big fans.
Yeah. But I'm also a McElroy fan.
I would just love Emma Stone to listen to our show because that would be fun.
We'll send it to her.
Okay. And I also have some OCD. So I'm kind of with that, kind of like I need my anxiety. It's what kind of keeps, it's my brain.
Interesting.
It's kind of what keeps me going. It's
okay.
It's how my brain works. It's
cool. If you're working, if you're fine, then that's fine. Yeah.
So
if you're functional, if you're happy, if you're moderately distressed or less by your stuff, then you're good. That's fine.
Okay.
Then you don't need talk therapy.
So good. So,
anyway, how do we get onto that? I forget.
This is ways to not be a burden.
Oh,
so that's the big one.
We kept advising everyone to get a therapist.
Therapy. So then we took a detour about our therapy, which is fine. Ways to not be a burden other than therapy. I would say if your medical plan doesn't cover therapy or you can't get a therapist, you can't afford it, find a group session.
There are group support groups. There are group therapy groups. Check out your local queer club if you're near a college campus. See what the LGBT club is there. They are great for resources in the area. There are people who can be therapists or group therapists online, by Skype, by text, by Kik, by Slack. There are options no matter where you are.
There are.
And if you think that's going to help you, if you think that's at least worth a try, and it's always at least worth a try, have a taste,
Yeah.
then spend some time, buckle down, pursue that for a little while, find some resources and go after them. That might be the thing for you. That might be really helpful.
Yeah. And how can you be less of... Okay, so how can you be less of a burden? I'm sad that you think you're a burden.
Yeah, I'm sad you even brought the word burden into the conversation.
I think that's tricky because I think every relationship involves a little bit of... Everyone's a little bit of a burden on everyone else in a relationship. A little bit.
Sure.
And that's just called mutual support. Whereas like burden means you're like dragging the other person down. You're the monkey on the back, the albatross around their neck, the squirrel on their ankles. Mm-hmm. And you know that poem.
I do.
Okay. I would hope that you don't feel like that. I think that sounds like something I would think with my anxiety. I think be a loving partner to your partner. Mm-hmm. Give them the space to think sometimes. Sometimes we need that. Listen when they need someone to listen to. Be nice to them. Do little nice things for them from time to time.
They're your partner.
If you guys divvy up the chores, do their chores sometimes. Which I always find. I sometimes do dishes for you, and I feel like that's like... I hate dishes so much. So to me, that's like... That's my I love you. It's just to do the dishes for you sometimes. And you do things like that for me too.
See, okay.
What?
And I can cut this out if it's
you don't
negative.
like the way I do dishes. You
don't
think I do a bad
dishes very well.
Okay, but the
reason I took that as my job.
Okay, but the point is,
I love you. Thank you for dishing.
Thank you. But the point is, there's so many ways you can show your partner that you love them and do little nice things for them.
Yeah.
And not be that, quote, burden.
If you feel like you're a burden, this is a little off topic, but I want you to take a very close look and see if your partner is making you feel that way. Because to transition, unless they were like disowned from their family, fired from their job, and y'all were both evicted from your home, and I mean all three of those simultaneously, you're not a fucking burden. Your partner is a fucking grown-up. If the relationship doesn't work for them, you guys figure something out. You split, or you're friends, or you stay together, or whatever. But to be a burden, that is an unusually negative way to think about things.
It is.
And it makes me sad that's the term.
If shit has just gone to hell since you transitioned, your partner's an adult. They either made that decision to stay with you, in which case there is no burdenship.
Right.
Your transition is not a burden.
They have accepted that part of you, or and they decided to stay with you.
They can just be an adult and fucking leave.
Yeah.
If it's someone who's trying to guilt you into thinking you're a burden, that's a whole other issue.
That's not
good. That's not good.
I don't like that person.
If your relationship isn't healthy, then I don't necessarily know what to tell you other than to try and make it healthier, and if it can't be, then that might not be the best relationship for you. I hate to counsel someone to get out of a relationship, but if your partner's constantly telling you how much of a burden you are, that's not a healthy relationship, and it might not be a healthy relationship because you're a burden. And you shouldn't be, because normal human beings aren't, or it might be an unhealthy relationship because they're accusing you of that to guilt you or to any number of reasons be a jerk. But that is a very loaded word.
Yeah.
It's a very, very loaded word.
And I get how, everything else being equal, on the average, based on my experience, having a trans partner does add stuff to your life. It adds some complexity. Let's not pretend that's not a thing. Your parents and stuff. I mean, there was the whole process of coming out and figuring out who you were out to and who you weren't, and navigating that whole process midway through. There was helping you through all the stress, the workplace, the hair, the weight loss, the name change. Like, there's stress that the trans partner feels that ideally the cis partner helps them with. So on some level, they do take on some of that stress as a partnership. That's how it works. But I never considered that a burden.
No,
I just kind of consider that, okay, you're trans. You started to transition. It's a process.
Or there's a relationship. I mean, sometimes you have a bad day. Sometimes I have a bad day.
It's true. I had a bad day for like 11 months in a row.
I know.
Remember that?
I had a really shitty job too.
I'm sorry I was such a shit when my job started.
I'm sorry I was probably really depressing. Fuck Arby's of Kenosha.
Arby's of Kenosha can go straight to hell.
That's not my real job, but I don't want to say my real job because it might.
Your real ex job.
My real ex job.
Full of assholes.
Yeah.
Now I feel bad for Arby's in Kenosha.
Arby's in Kenosha does a great job. Their curly fries are spot on. If you're ever in Kenosha or the other greater Kenosha region of Wisconsin, their Arby's are as good as any other Arby's. Mm-hmm. Actually, I haven't eaten an Arby's in like 20 years.
I bet they're delicious.
I don't know. I haven't eaten an Arby's in ages.
Speaking of burdens, what? Yeah. Your partner shouldn't make you feel like a burden. Although there are additional stresses, and we're not going to pretend there aren't.
There are.
But if your partner is the awesome person that you chose to live your life with before transition, I want to believe that if they're willing to stick with you, then they're willing to get through the bumps of transition.
Yeah.
And I might be coming at this from sort of a privileged point of view that I can call them bumps. I get that there's medical stuff, there's financial stuff, there's employment stuff, there's family stuff. I get it. A lot of this can be big and bad and cause big changes in your life. I want your partner to go through that with you. And to be less of a burden, I feel like therapy is a great way to do it.
Therapy or finding a group that you can talk to so that you're not depending solely on your partner for support. Mm-hmm. And I think that's literally the biggest thing. Beyond that, you can just find nice ways to be nice to your partner. Mm-hmm. And I think that's going to be a big help. Mm-hmm. But really, it's, I think, just finding that outlet that's not your partner. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So that you're not coming to your partner with literally every worry or a bit of anxiety or moment that bothered you or thing that triggered you or whatever.
Or just bottling up those emotions and that eventually coming out on your partner in some massive, decayed, fetid, nasty, slimy emotions that have been festering, bursts like a cyst all over your house.
No, you don't want that.
And then the mopping is just insane.
You do not want an emotional cyst.
Nobody wants that cyst to rupture.
That's even worse than an emotional carbuncle.
I don't know. A carbuncle might be worse. That sounds more painful.
I think a carbuncle is where you have 2 or 3 different boils that all become infected, like connected under your skin.
Wow.
Oh yeah, carbuncle's like the worst. Don't get a carbuncle.
Let's avoid a carbuncle.
Don't be an emotional carbuncle. Don't bottle all that stuff in. Talk to a therapist. Talk to a group. Talk to a friend. Don't depend on your partner to be your sole anchor in life. Don't depend on your partner to be your life preserver. Don't depend on your partner to be the only person that you ask for support.
They'll be doing a lot of that, but they shouldn't have to do all of that.
They shouldn't have to do all of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's like the easiest way.
I think so.
Have other people to talk to. Still talk to your partner. Don't not communicate with them. Obviously, you have the shared life. And listen to them. Sometimes they might feel like being a burden for a while.
That's a big important thing, too.
Yeah. And it might not even be trans-related. It might be just like the shittiest day at work. This team thought they could scan anything they wanted. They didn't even introduce themselves to me. We didn't have their series set up on the magnet. They had no clue what they were doing. I didn't bring in enough team because I didn't know what they needed. Like, they might just need to vent a totally normal, boring work thing like that.
Yeah. Totally. So, D, I hope this has been helpful for you.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for the question.
Thank you for the question. If y'all have any questions, please feel free to email us, questions@genderrebels.com, or you can always tweet us at @thegenderrebels.
And if you are a partner who has learned photography, electrolysis, phlebotomy, and you always wear heels so your MTF partner looks shorter and cuter next to you. Write us, how did you become basically a partner god? I would love to learn from you. Thanks for listening, everybody.
All right, thank you, everyone.
We'll talk to you next time.
All right.
Bye!
If you've enjoyed this episode and want to help us keep making more great content, go to patreon.com/genderrebels,
We have many different levels of support and lots of great rewards,
including drinks with the Gender Rebels at Stonewall.
Please leave a 5-star review on iTunes. That makes it easier for other people to find us.
And send your questions to questions@genderrebels.com or find us on Twitter @TheGenderRebels.
Music for The Gender Rebels is by Jasper the Colossal. Follow the link down below or download them on iTunes today.
And for all our episodes, visit genderrebels.com.
The Gender Rebels is a Comeback Sync production, copyright 2018. All rights reserved.
And to all you Gender Rebels out there, keep rebelling.
Bye.
Bye.